Hello and welcome to the Bury St Edmunds Buddhist Centre. My name is Dridhakarin and we're continuing our series of looking at parables and stories from the Buddhist tradition. And today I've picked the story of the Buddha and his attendant Meghiya, the Meghiya Sutta. Now it's quite a well-known sutta, and I've always wondered about this word Meghiya as his name. And in northern India, there's a very small unknown state called Meghalaya that's famous for having some of the heaviest rainfall figures in the whole world. And the name translates as abode of clouds. And I can't help but see some sort of connection there between the name Meghiya and the name Meghalaya. And maybe in some respects, we could say that Meghiya has a rather cloudy mind. He's a little cloudy minded. He's the Buddha's attendant, and yet he seems to have an inclination to want to sort of go away and do other things rather than be with the Buddha. But before I start that story, I'd just like to mention a book that I've just read by Vajragupta, another order member from the Triratna movement. His book called Free Time, and it's all about our relationship with time. And part of what he talks about is the way that craving and aversion can affect our experience of time. If we're craving for something to happen, then maybe time will drag and it'll take longer for it to happen. Whereas if we're averse to something from the future, it'll probably come along a bit quicker. It's a wonderful book. It's very rich. That's just a small part of it. There's so much to it. I actually feel a little like I might have rushed reading it. It's something that's worth going back to again and again. But I mention it also because there's a wonderful image in the book. And it's two people that are at a bus stop. And one is a Zen Buddhist monk, and the other is the lay follower from the group the Zen monk's part of. And the Zen monks come to America to do a tour, and it's time for him to go back to the airport and fly back to Japan. And the lay followers accompany him on the journey and arrange the journey, but they're stood at the bus stop, and lo and behold, the bus has not arrived. And this is the occasion of some agitation for the lay follower. They're looking down the road. Where can the next bus be? Checking the number of the buses they can see coming down the road. Will it be the bus to the airport? Oh no, it's not. And so it goes on. And for the lay follower, this is an sort of experience of time maybe going slow and fast, in that waiting for another bus might seem an eternity, and yet time's ticking on, and the flight for the Zen monk will be soon. Maybe soon it'll be too late for him to get the bus. And so the lay follower is in this agitated state of mind and turns round and looks at the Zen monk. And the Zen monk has taken his case and placed it on the ground, and he sat there looking down the road, and the sun is shining on his face, and he's just enjoying the moment, enjoying the sunshine, and just sitting there. And she feels like actually not only is he not agitated, it's as if he's not even waiting. He's just enjoying the moment. And he sees her staring at him or looking at him, and gives a sort of wry smile to sort of reassure her. And there's a sort of sense of humour in there too, that he sort of knows what's happening. So it's a lovely image of two travellers on the road together having a different experience. And that leads in a little to our story of the Buddha and his attendant Meghiya. And they're on the road together, and they're staying at a place called Charlika Mountain. I'm on the Charlikans. And they're just there alone, and it's early morning, and they're together, and Meghiya's maybe a little restless as the opposed to the Buddha, who's, I could imagine, sat there still and enjoying the moment and the time. And Meghiya would like to go to the nearest village to beg for food. Maybe he's a bit hungry, or maybe he just would like to go and chase a little stimulation and get away. So he asks the Buddha, and he says to the Buddha, I would like to go into Jantu village to beg for food. And the Buddha says to Meghiya, then do what you think it is now time to do. So Meghiya has correctly asked for permission from the Buddha, and the Buddha has given the permission for him to go into the village. So Meghiya goes into the village and begs for food at the houses, collects some food, and then goes outside the village to eat his daily meal, and then it's time to go back to where the Buddha is, outside the village. But on the way, Meghiya has the idea to go for a little stroll by the Kimikala River, lovely name, the Kimikala River, to go for a stroll, to exercise his legs, to stretch his legs, to take, as it were, we might say nowadays, to take his daily exercise down by the river. So he's taken, as it were, a little detour to stretch his legs as Meghiya. And while he's walking down the river, it says he's walking up and down, stretching his legs. He's not even directly going back to where the Buddha is. And while he's walking up and down the Kimikala River, he notices a beautiful mango grove, a lovely mango grove. Now, the first time this sutta was expounded to me, I always wondered what a mango grove was like, and I imagined something quite dense and tropical. But subsequently, on a pilgrimage to India, I had the opportunity to see a real mango grove close up, and I realised they were very pleasing looking trees. They were actually quite big and tall, rather like our oak trees, maybe not quite as wide, but if they were planted together, they'd grow up tall and have a pleasing wide canopy that would be 10 feet above the ground, lovely broad trunks, and underneath the mango trees, underneath their canopy and their shade, would be an area, a lovely flat area devoid of vegetation. And in the hot heat of an Indian day, it'd look very appealing to go and sit in that lovely dense shade out of the sun. And Meghiya thinks, oh, what a wonderful place to go and meditate for one whose heart's release is still immature. He would like to go there and exert himself in meditation. But first he knows that he should go back to the Buddha and ask his permission. So Meghiya goes back to the Buddha and tells him what he's been doing. He's been to the village to beg for food, he's been for a walk along the Kimikala River, and that there he saw a delightful, pleasing and charming mango grove, and that he thought it would be a great place for him to go intent on exertion in meditation. So he asked the Buddha, may I go to the mango grove for my daily practice, to meditate? And the Buddha replies, as long as I am still alone, stay here until another monk comes. So there's rather a tradition that the Buddha and his attendant, the attendant would stay with the Buddha until maybe another monk came along. So the Buddha's gently reminding Meghiya of his duty, but Meghiya's not quite sort of taking the hint. His cloudy mind is not seeing clearly what the Buddha's trying to say. So he asks a second time, does Meghiya, and he adds this time that the Buddha has achieved his enlightenment. The Buddha has nothing further to do and nothing further to add to what has done. I, however, have something further to do, or something further to add to what I have done. he's not attained enlightenment. He still wishes to grow and develop and to strive in meditation. It's all very worthy stuff. And again, he asks the Buddha's permission to go to the mango grove. And the second time, the Buddha replies, "As long as I am still alone, stay here until another monk comes along." But Meghiya, again, is not taking the hint, and he asks a third time if he can go to the mango grove. Now, in the stories of the Buddha, if he's asked something 3 times, he'll often give a different answer on the third time. It's rather as if the first 2 times he's trying to, as it were, give the best answer to somebody and protect them. But if they persist and ask a third time, which is almost rather a bit sort of bad manners really, then he'll kind of let them play out their sort of inclination, as it were. So this time, the Buddha replies, "As you are talking about exertion, Meghiya, what can we say? What can we say? Do what you think it is now time to do." So Meghiya has got the permission that he desired, that he wished for. He's got the desire to go to this wonderful mango grove, to strive and to practice. So the Venerable Meghiya bows down to the Buddha and bids his farewell, and he goes to the mango grove to begin his days abiding in meditation. A lovely phrase, to spend your day abiding in meditation. So Meghiya's abiding in his daily practice in a wonderful, cool, beautiful, attractive mango grove. So he's sitting down for his meditation, and he's obviously expecting to develop and grow some opportunity, some deep meditation to come about. However, to his surprise, he finds that he's assailed by 3 kinds of unskillful thoughts. Thoughts of sensuality, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of doing harm. So he's rather got greed, hatred, and delusion going on all through his mind. He's got sensual thoughts of craving, thoughts of ill will and aversion, and ignorant thoughts of doing harm, all happening to him. He's got the full set of unskillful thoughts. And he finds this amazing, how astounding, that even though through faith he's gone home from his home into a homeless life, he's still overpowered by these unskillful thoughts. They've still got so much sort of weight and presence in him, whereas he thinks, having gone from home into a homeless life, that they should no longer be occurring. So he stays in the mango grove until the late afternoon, and then goes back to the Buddha and bows down to the Buddha and sits down, and then tells the Buddha what has happened. That he went to the mango grove and he sat for his days abiding, but he was assailed by these 3 kinds of unskillful thoughts. Thoughts of sensuality and ill will and doing harm. And that he found it amazing, that it didn't seem quite right. How could this be happening? So please, Buddha, can you tell me what was happening? Why did this happen? So the Buddha replies, in one whose heart's release is still immature, there's this lovely phrase, heart's release. It's a sort of liberation of the mind, and in Buddhism, mind includes our heart, our emotion, and our feelings, as well as our heady intellectual thoughts, as well as thoughts in the mind. So Buddhism has this conception of our heart, our mind, being all encompassing of that. And the Buddha is saying one whose heart's release whose mind's liberation is still immature. Saying 5 qualities will bring it to maturity. So he's going to give Meghiya a little teaching, a little lesson to help him on his way. And the first thing he says is that not that a monk needs to go and spend time under a mango grove, meditating, striving, but rather surprisingly, he says the first quality of 5 is where a monk has admirable people as friends, companions and colleagues. He's got admirable friends, rather like the Buddha. Who could be a more admirable spiritual friend than the Buddha? And in our Buddhist movement, we do value Buddhist friendship, spiritual friendship, friendship of people who are more experienced than ourselves, who can lead by example, and also friends that are, as it were, at the same level as us, we can share our experience with, and also we can be aware that for people who are newer than ourselves, we can be an example and an inspiration. So this chain of friendship sort of spills down all around, and it's an important practice for us, and it leads to this practice of Sangha, to be a Buddhist community together, and that we're practicing together. We're not individuals individually practicing, maybe just looking to a guru to pour down their teachings. We're actually working together as a Sangha to grow and develop and to help others grow and develop. So the Buddha mentions this first quality of having good friends, spiritual friends. And then he mentions ethics. Further, a monk is virtuous. He dwells consummate in behaviour and range of activity. He trains himself, seeing danger in the slightest faults. And then his third quality is, the Buddha says, furthermore, he gets to hear at will, easily and without difficulty, talk that is truly sobering, talk that is conducive to the opening of awareness, conducive to our heart's release, to the liberation of our mind, talk of the Dharma. And then he talks of the quality that we keep our persistence aroused in abandoning unskillful mental qualities and for taking on skillful mental qualities. So we're mindful of when the mind is being overpowered with greed, hatred and delusion, and we'll make an effort to cultivate the opposite, to cultivate skillful, friendly, wise thoughts. And then the last quality the Buddha mentions is that somebody is discerning and endowed with discernment relating to arising and passing away, which is a reference to the great principle of Buddhism that we should be aware of the conditions that create our opportunity for growth and the conditions that could lead us away from there. So they're the 5 qualities, and it's telling that the Buddha mentions friendship first, but then he goes on to emphasize that even further, emphasize that to Meghiya, who's been a bit cloudy thinking, a bit restless, and even though he's in even in the presence of the Buddha, the fully enlightened Buddha, he had this inclination to restlessly want to wander off for his own practice. So the Buddha explains how that all these qualities flow out of that friendship, having admirable people as friends. That for one who has admirable people as friends and companions, it is expected that he will dwell virtuous. It is expected that he will get to hear at will, easily and without difficulty, talk that is truly sobering and conducive to the opening of awareness. And when a monk has admirable friends, it is expected he will keep his persistence aroused for abandoning unskillful qualities. And again, it is expected he'll be discerning and endowed with discernment relating to arising and passing away. So that's the story of Meghiya, who's rather restless. There's the image of him together with the Buddha. The Buddha's calm and serene and content, and Meghiya has this urge to go off for good reasons, but he's still a bit restless and it doesn't quite work. And the Buddha gives him a lesson to show where he could do better. And the lesson is about friendship, about spiritual friendship and appreciating our friends. And also thinking about, this book, Free Time, that I've just read. We are in a very strange time at the moment. In some ways, time feels to be stretching. I feel like time is rather suspended, and it's suspended our opportunities to come together as Sangha and to practice together. It's rather like things are on hold. But at the same time, time's moving forward, the season is changing, and conditions are changing too. And in a way, I'm looking forward to the time when we can come together as a Sangha and practice again together, but also trying to make the most of this time and using things like this video to help us to sort of be together in some sense and to share our experience and friendship at this very peculiar time. So I'm going to finish there, and I wish you all well, and I look forward to a time when we can all practice together in person. But until then, please take care, and I'm wishing you all well. Goodbye.